Hello, everybody. It is Friday the 15th, and welcome to Esports Playmakers. We are joined today on the virtual desk by Miles Dean, the Director of Business Development for Fair Play Corporation. Before we begin, I want to give a quick shout out to Equinox, HyperX, Human Mode, and Click Gaming for their continued support of OCU Esports and this show. Well, Miles, the first question on this show is all about the story, and we want to know exactly how you came into this role and kind of like a little bit about your background and just what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I get into the esports realm more of like the product provider in some of these esports spaces. We're an LED manufacturer, a top tier LED manufacturer in the world, providing different types of LED displays. Traditionally, these were kind of found in your sports spaces. You know, they have these elaborate jumbotrons, as they used to call them back in the day. That they had these nice elaborate displays, but they're really costly. I mean, these places, I mean, you look at some of these stadiums putting millions of dollars into these nice elaborate displays, you know, basically to engage fans in different ways and make an impact. And it's also a way for them to catch eyes and be able to do some advertisement things and really kind of captivate the audience, right? And we're a provider of LED displays, and how I kind of got into esports is that there are several different deployments I've been involved with over the past couple of years into esports. And more and more you see these competition stages being more of a thing, because as you see esports continuing to evolve, the competitive nature is going to grow along with that, and having a stage that's kind of like a football field or a basketball arena, is that having that stage and highlighting these players in major competition, because we all know that we're going to get back to some sort of normalcy here coming soon, over the next couple of months and into the summer. And LAN competitions and in-person competitions is just so much more surreal and than it would be to do it over virtually, right? And so, that's how I've kind of been able to find my way into in the esports realm. And plus, I have a game or two as well, and so I game, and so I really kind of took an interest in get more involved into esports.
Yeah, I think absolutely feeling that. I think massively it's the Smash community that really wants to get back in person more than anyone else, of course. But yeah. I think you kind of just answered my second question there, which is what is Fair Play's interest in esports, and it's adding this kind of wow factor to arenas. So what is, when you're talking these screens, it's like I'm thinking like of a soccer field, those things that run all the way around the arena that can like flip for advertisers and things like that, right?
Yeah. So that's what you're looking at, and that's just on a much larger scale, or a much smaller scale, because they're really just long and they go wrap around the like a soccer stadium or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can obviously see that when you see these arenas, they've got the nice big videotron, and then they have advertisements on the sides or at the bottom or top, but you see that there's always video there, and then there's always the score, how they keep the time. And so having that all in one space, you're able to catch everybody's eyes, because people will just continue to look at a screen because your view might be not as good and the screen is better, right? Yeah. But you still get that fan experience, right? And for like esports, you're not necessarily seeing what's entirely going on with the game, right? You're not seeing it's a 27-inch monitor that's in front of them. Nobody's going to be able to see that if they want to see the action going, and then let alone see 4, 8, 10 players at one time interacting in the game. You can't see all of that action.
So you're thinking not only a jumbotron for like the main spectator, but also creating displays that can capture individual screens and putting every single one of those on top of that screen as well.
Yeah. So you're capturing what the player is doing too as well. So you're seeing what the player is seeing, and so that's like a first person shooter. Then you're seeing that person's actions live happening, right? And then a lot of the times you'll see like these LED desks being incorporated into the ribbon display right in front of their desks. And sometimes they'll have like a webcam right in front of them, right in front of the player, catching the player's reactions. And a good example of that is we did a a recent deployment for PUBG, and a good one is to refer to in Berlin, to where they had the massive center hung display capturing all of the action. They had like a map that showed every interaction that was going on. They had advertisements from Intel and other brands happening there, but right in front of the players, you can actually see the players interacting in the game. So, if somebody ended up getting X'd and getting taken out of the game, that you'd see the reaction, right? And so it just makes it a little bit more surreal. So it feels like you're actually like looking at what's happening to the person as if they were right next to you, right?
So I'm not sure if you've heard the it's kind of an infamous phrase. I'm not sure how widespread it's become so far, but Kevin Hong, one of the people over at Twitch that kind of works and interacts with colleges a lot, has a saying that goes, "The currency of esports is minutes watched." And it seems like that's kind of what you guys are playing into, creating a new viewer experience that's going to draw more eyes to your application or to a collegiate program's broadcast. Because the end goal, I think, for a lot of colleges is to kind of create this, a standard broadcast where they're able to sell to advertisers, get more eyes on those advertisers, and then sell to bigger advertisers. And I think that's kind of that kind of like what you say the long-term goal of Fair Play is to hit that mark where you are drawing in more eyes.
Yeah, I mean, and when I talked to Doc Haskell, and he's look at the minutes watched. That's what he always says on his presentations too, as well as look at the minutes watched that you see, and that's what's important, especially right now during COVID, and the only time that we're able to actually capture these matches and capture these games, whether it's collegiate level, semi-professional, professional, it's all being done on live on Twitch, right? Or a different streaming service. So that's how we're able to see these gamers play. And you can see, as Boise State really kind of does it well too, as well. And not to kind of pipe the horn on that, but they really have a full kind of nice solution that they provide for students, right? And so they've got the nice on-camera presence. They still have kids coming in and out, still being safe, but still being competitive. They're highlighting brands. They're have shoutcasters that are telling the story. You see that they present the game on the screen with these shoutcasters calling, and they're really creating a unique experience. But I mean, look at the viewership at that, right? And so they have several thousands of people, several millions of minutes watched, whether it's live or it's they're watching recorded content that's already been published. And that's what you really look at, and that's how you're going to be able to attract brands, because of those minutes watched. And as we're seeing here, that on-camera presence is being more and more of what people are looking for.
So kind of moving away from the screens, you have seen a lot of esports arenas. You've worked with professional, like you said, semi-professional colleges. Outside of the computer screens and the screens that are used for these kind of displays, what do you think is the most important thing that goes into building one of these arenas?
I think it's really the kind of the foundation that you're looking for. What's going to be your presence, and how you're going to go forward as an institution or organization. Is it going to be competition focused? Like, you want to get the top talent, right? And we're talking outside of technology here, right? So I think that what is your main focus? Do you want to have the top talent? Do you want to have the best go to from next level as far as like a career, and you're offering like like you guys do? You guys have a full video game element that's really important. You're not just giving people the opportunity to compete, but you're also doing game animation and creation and all that other cool stuff that goes along with that builds in that career, because there's a career with working with these publishers to create these new games and experiences. And what better way to be learning as a young adult, and being able to game and make a game and do what you love at the same time, right? I mean, what better way to be able to do that? And so, and having that is kind of really important too as well. And so I guess those are the kind of two important things that I think about is like, what are we going to try to create here? Are we going to try to create a competitive environment? We're going to try to pay more of an educational environment, or we're going to do both. Like, we're a full dead set into this thing. Like, we need to be putting 2 feet forward. We need to jump in and we need to really utilize this because, there is a massive growth. I mean, I can remember I'm 36 years old. And so, I remember, when I was 20, we were playing a lot of games in the basement of the hall, and everybody's bringing in their TVs and their Xbox consoles, and we're all having like Tiger Woods tournaments, NCAA. I mean, there was just a bunch of random ones that we ended up playing that it was fun, right? And that's what we did. And when you think about it, well, that was just kind of esports on a much smaller scale, like just a kind of like a little bubble, right? But it's that competitive nature that you're playing against somebody. But esports, I think, is like a team effort, right? Because there's multiple people, there's strategy, there's tactics, there's various different elements that go into it. And so that's my 2 thoughts on what is important outside like the technology aspect.
I think the jack of all trades argument is interesting. I think it's definitely much harder to do, I'd say, finding a way to accomplish both being super competitive and finding a way to also build up the educational side of either having an esports major or something as just game design. But we have found that they are super closely integrated, and we're also finding actually lately that middle schools are now becoming more interested. We recently had a meeting with a local middle school that was interested in getting an esports space, and they're they came to our arena to like check out what we're doing, and they're trying to take notes on like what exactly they need to put into this space. What does it look like for the kids? How can they implement education? And there's a lot of ways to do it, and so it's just super exciting to see that kind of grow.
Yeah, I mean that's a wonderful ecosystem that you have there, because you're bringing in kids from all different types, getting into play, getting into that, whether they want to get competitive with it or not. They can kind of see that, and the elements that you guys have as far as like an educational piece, you're really kind of telling them that it's no longer like my father told me, is like you're never going to find a profession in playing video games. There's no money in that, right? There's nothing there. Well, myself now as a father to a 3-year-old son, I can't tell my son that, right? Because in 15 years from now, when he's 18 years old, I can only imagine what it's going to be like in a decade from now, right? Just even in a decade, he'll be 13 years old, and he'll be more than likely being playing video games at that point. So I'm assuming that just we're barely even scratching the surface on the total potential of what really just esports and collegiate esports could potentially be.
So kind of getting back to esports spaces and displays. You mentioned PUBG. Are there any other colleges or arenas that you guys have worked with recently that we could you could kind of point people to as like, this is what we can do for you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's several different places that you can definitely find technology that's similar or like to what we have. I mean, you could take a look at like Full Sail University, for instance, and what they have going on there. I mean, they did a elaborate job with that space, and really
beautiful space.
Oh yes, I mean, they did a fabulous job with that. You could look at like small institutions like Eastern Tennessee. They're a small institution, but they have this. They just released this nice little massive board that they have for their backdrop, and that's what they're going to be gaming on for the next. They could literally hook up an Xbox directly to it and be playing on a 120-inch or a 220-inch screen, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous on the size of the screen that we can be able to put together. But it makes a different scene, and where we've found that we've been able to make kind of some headway is kind of hone down on total cost of ownership of technology, and over time and we traditionally fit in where a projector would already be. So this could be something that's hanging from a ceiling and dropping down, or something that's, it's a screen that's on a wall. And as we all know, that projectors have kind of been around for a long time, and they've just kind of continued to go out the door as far as like really inexpensive. And they're, by the time that the bulb dims down, you're spending more money, or about half the amount of money it is that you paid for it. So it's like, well, do I continue to keep buying a new projector, continue to keep fixing it, and I'm having to do that once every year, or and that just becomes costly at some point, right? Because I'm spending anywhere from $5,000 to 30 grand just to get repairs on product. And for us, it's like our shelf life is 10 years if you left it on 24/7. And so with that in mind, it's like this thing could last probably in the realms of about 15 years before you're like, yeah, we probably should really think about doing something different, within the, I mean, let's all face it. Like, how often do you, how many people actually have a cell phone that was 10 years ago? Right.
Maybe my grandparents. Maybe.
Yeah, right. The older generations, yeah. Right. But we're trying to appeal to the younger generations, right? And so having the new computers and the new headsets and the obviously the new games and all that type of stuff plays an important factor, right? And so having that younger type of technology that embraces this younger crowd and find ways for them to interact with it. I mean, you can hook up cameras to it and being able to have an emotion and animation. So what is happening on the screen is the actions actually physically happening by the person's actions. I mean, you guys have a similar setup in your studio.
Recently acquired a mocap lab for the gaming animation group.
Yeah. So just imagine putting up just a nice little LED wall, and you're making a game as it goes along, and you're able to do this on a nice, bright, and very crisp and well performed screen, right? I guess the LED is just the largest and best option for if you're looking to look at total cost of ownership.
So kind of moving back into the realm of esports stuff and related things, you recently were part of a group that hosted this giant esports networking event. Can you talk a little bit about what that group was that you hosted it with, and kind of the motivation behind hosting an event like that?
Yeah, so I'm actively involved in the esports community too as well. So it's not just from a business perspective that I like to get involved with. I like to, definitely help connect people and find ways to help this ecosystem grow, right? And I think that's really important is as that we all kind of help each other and find ways, because what somebody has or what somebody's doing might be something similar to what you're doing, and they might be able to help you out and say, hey, I might have ran into these challenges, or hey, I've also worked with this person, right? And so finding those good connections is always good too as well. And so the organization that we paired up with was the Esports Trade Association, the ESTA. And that's head up by John Davidson and a good friend of mine, Megan Van Patten. We call her MVP. They're great organization to join a part of, because they're really trying to create a great ecosystem for esports to help esports evolve and grow. They had a show recently back in September that highlighted various different topics of esports. Obviously your alma mater, Boise State, was on there. Chris was a representative there. They had representatives from, Florida Memorial, HBCU School. Mark Williams was also there as a panelist. And they had a great list of panelists there too as well. And what was great about it is their networking piece, creating a multitude platform for networking, so everybody can kind of come together, meet each other, because that's what, going to some of these events and going to some of these spaces is not only going to see what's there, but it's also meeting new people, right? And that's what we're kind of like losing right now as a society, and being suffered to, just being stayed indoors until we kind of wait this thing out over the next 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, I think this was actually the first time I've had a chance to meet anyone outside the state, probably the entire year, where I've been able to hop on Zoom meetings here and there with a couple of other colleges, but this was like a great way to meet just this giant pool of people. I think you had over 500 or so people attending the event, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably the largest esports networking event of the year. I mean, it had to have been. And I mean, I've been to a lot of just traditional esports events throughout the entire year, and that stacks right up to the attendance that was present at just a networking event for 2.5 hours, right? Granted that we did have some stuff that we handed out during the holiday times. We thought it was a great time to give to a community, and just kind of bring people together. I mean, I think it was just more of like creating joy and connecting people from all different areas. It could have been like a collegiate level, because there was there was Chase from St. Ambrose that was also on there, Donna from up in California. There was a lot of people I could just remember off the top of my head that were Mark from Oklahoma, just a little bit south of you there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mark from OU.
He was
also there. Yep. So it just brought more people just from a community, and so partnering with them to host that networking event was great. They've got a lot of more stuff planned in the future. Bringing this community together and trying to bring more people within this community. And so, they've got like these coffee events coming up. They've got another event coming up on the 21st. Same event, same type of event. More
really quick, can you tell everyone how to sign up for that and where they should go if they want to join?
Yeah. I mean, just hopped up on LinkedIn and search for the Esports Trade Association. You'll find the events tab, and there you'll be able to notice that there's an event happening on the 21st that everybody can attend to there too as well. They also have another trade show, virtual trade show coming up with a slew of panelists and topics and conversations, and that's coming up on, I think, on like sometime in March, towards the end of March, like 23rd, 24th, somewhere around in there. And so they'll be having that topics in those discussions for that show too as well. And I believe that it's not a couple $100, and you can be able to attend the show and be able to continue networking and being able to meet people. I just think they're a really great organization to do with, and they're more receptive to people's feedback and trying to create an experience that everybody enjoys, right? And I just think that every time that we've had an experience with them, the bar was set, and that it just keeps continuing to raise. And so I just keep enjoying to engage within this community, because every single event that I have honestly participated in, the level and the bar just continues to increase.
So with that, did you learn any do's and do nots from kind of hosting this large scale virtual event? Any kind of like improvements you guys thought of after? I'm sure you guys had like a wrap-up meeting or something afterwards and kind of talked about it.
Yeah, I just I thought that we made the rooms too large, right? My first set of people, I had over 20 some people, and I can't even remember the length of time, right? And so literally I have to tell people, you've got to give me your elevator pitch in 33 seconds, right? Because I can't go around. So it's just like I felt bad towards one of my first ones that I was like, oh man, I couldn't really allow people to have topics and conversations. And so, thought is that try to make more mediators and slim down the crowds a little bit more, and allow people to kind of like really kind of like network and get to know people more. So
I think
smaller segments, smaller groups, smaller time frames, more of the more interaction.
yeah, I think most people will agree with you when they say having too many people at your event is probably the best problem you could have had.
Yeah, because we just honestly we planned for what we thought was gonna come in based on the numbers that we were receiving. And so I was just like, yeah, well, I think we got enough. But then after seeing my first group, I was like, man, I just felt really bad. I was like, I didn't even get to there was like 3 or 4 people that I didn't even get to really touch upon. And the last 2 people I kind of like shoot them in. So I was like, I felt guilty that I kind of cut off about 6 people's time that really could have benefited from connecting with other folks, or at least giving their message. And so I'm always a person that likes to enjoy that networking atmosphere, because traditionally my product is found in that congregation environment, right? We have been working a lot of virtual reality and augmented reality and different types of reality sets to create more experiences from a stage presence or a studio presence. But traditionally that's where ours have been found. And so trying to just evolve into that and have that kind of background and helping them and figuring things out was the probably the most difficult part, is handling that crowd. But yeah, look for some updates for this new one. And then definitely check out their show, where they're planning a bunch of different things for their next large event. And then I think they just started like some morning coffees. And so instead of doing these at the latter end of the day, some people were like, well, it'd be great if we can do some of these during the beginning of the day. And then we're like, well, shoot, let's just make a coffee hour out of it. Let's just cut out a segment, and if people come up, talk, set your coffee, drink your coffee, and then be able to just kind of like socially network during the day at a random time. And no, I like I said, they're just kind of continuing to evolve and grow this organization, and it's just every time you think they've met the bar, they just continue to create the next level.
All right, I got just a few more questions for you. We're running a little bit short on time, but what are you most looking forward to in collegiate esports in the next year?
Oh, I'm definitely looking back to, in-person competitive nature, right? And that, I mean, that's where I truly think that the excitement is going to come.
It's the energy.
Yeah, it's the energy, it's the crowd, it's the true competition, right? We all know that LAN competition is just kind of, there's nothing better. I mean, everybody's on the same playing field. There's no law lag this, no this that, right? Being remote, and oh, my sister was on TikTok, right? So my the excuses are all out of the table, right? And so just kind of getting back to the heart and soul of where esports was at the kind of like the peak of 2019, where that in-person competition was just starting to just break through at and make it even better, right?
Kind of like on that note of unfairness, do you think colleges need neutral locations to play, or is the current setup of having, just like the traditional sports model, every college having their own stadium, is that kind of the correct route to go?
I would say it's either or. So, I've seen a lot of places being, like Dan's studio, for instance, at Pulse Arena, that's the arena that we're going to be launching here in 2021. And he's got several locations going out. And then, Pulse Esports, they're offering, an ecosystem so teams can come in and play, and it's a place to rent out, so they don't have to physically dedicate a space to compete in. And so if there's a league that was like, oh yeah, hey, we just want to create a league and everybody can have their own teams and their own coaches, but we don't want to have to house our own facility and do all this other stuff. We just want to compete, right? We're middle school kids, or we're a small college that doesn't have the space to be able to allocate for that. Well, here's a place that you can rent, that you can bring in people, can actually, teams can compete in within your own community. Or if obviously there was cross state competitions with collegiate esports too as well. So I mean, you see this as like an opportunity to be able to just kind of grow upon.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's like super cool that the ecosystem's just expanding, and that with every single with these arenas just popping up everywhere, all it's gonna do is it's gonna allow people who are, you know, currently trying to create a grassroots league, like you were saying, to just have a space to actually do that in person rather than running them online. I know that locally we have the GRLCS, the Get Wrecked League. It's like a League of Legends league that's been running for a few years. Um, and I know that they've tried to hold in-person finals, but haven't really had space to do it. They've kind of gone to convention centers, I think, in the past. But now with all these arenas popping up, it's gonna be awesome seeing them get to play their finals in person, and feels a lot more like a traditional rec league than a random online league.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's crazy for these publications to not pour into this, or find remote spaces and arenas to invest in, right? And be like, oh, if we're gonna host a PUBG tournament, we're gonna host it in this arena or one of these set of arenas across the nation, right? And so or it's like a Dota 2 or a Warzone, or I feel that these publications should be investing into these spaces too as well, and dedicating and investing in it, because that's where you're going to find the true competition. And if you ever wanted to host an event and bring in, didn't matter if it was collegiate level, high school kids, or we're talking high professionals, you can bring in all sorts of people and have them have the same experience and competing on the same stages and competing in the same spaces, right? And like, kind of like you guys did, you guys created your own little atmosphere in your own ecosystem for esports. So you've got your high schools involved. Now you're able to bring in other colleges and still be able to compete on a main stage, right? And so now everybody's kind of coming to your house when it's in you're playing in your home field more than you are than anything else. And so that just it has its benefits when you have your own, but obviously being able to just still have some place to go and compete. LAN centers are all right. They're really popular in Asia and they're really successful in Asia. But look at the cost of living and how people live over in the Asian market. The kids don't have enough space to have their own computer, right? Let alone do they be able to afford one. And so that's why LAN centers are so much popular. But there's so much more that can be added to a LAN center when you have an arena, because I mean, you're already housing hundreds of PCs, right?
You have the network, you have the hardware. All you're missing is the space for the stage.
Yeah, all you're missing is a stage, right? Well, hey, let's cut out some of the pie here. Let's take out some of those, and then let's put in a stage where we can actually highlight our competition, right? And so while these competitions are having, you maybe you can highlight, have the LAN center be hosting the tournament, right? But our I don't want to. Our match of the afternoon, right, or match of the morning is these two teams. We really want to see these teams in action. We want to highlight them on a stage. We want to have full production and studio shoutcasters and everything else, and really creating that experience for your fans that are people that are attending. Because let's face it, people, it's like you house these hundreds and hundreds of people for a tournament. You think that there's not going to be like one or two people that are going to come and watch them play? You know what I mean? And why are you making it difficult for people that want to watch it and watch it for hours on end? Why you want to make it difficult for them to view it when they can be able to have a stage and have a screen of a decent size to be able to just watch that competition as it just kind of continues to unfold, right? And that's what the experience that you're trying to create here is bridge the gap between having people who hover over a 27-inch monitor and giving them something that's nice to look at. And oh yeah, you could be able to have it be paid for by sponsors that you're highlighting throughout the entire day or the 3-day event, or these things. It's not like a traditional sports where it's like 3.5 hours up, we're done, it's over, done by, it's over, we'll go back next week. Esports is like, oh, we're going to host an event, and this event is going to be for 3 days, and it's going to last 8 hours a day, and we're having thousands of eyes come watch it every single day. There's value in that.
So this next question is kind of just to stir the pot a little bit. Can you name your top 3 collegiate esports arenas in terms of wow factor, and then any runner-ups if you want to add to them?
Wow factor.
Like you walk in and you just kind of have that experience of just taking in all this technology, lights, screens.
Yeah.
So, and what's your opinion you've seen a lot of these. What is your top 3?
I from a collegiate standpoint, I think that obviously Full Sail has done themselves well, right? I mean, the environment that they create, they've got portrait screens that highlight players, they've got ribbon board in the center, they've got massive screen on the back. I mean, what they really have going on is just truly, truly amazing, and it captures people. I mean, when you go there and you go there for a live event, I mean, and to see that and then have the content play there, and then when the players win a match, man, the ambiance changes, right? It's I don't know, it's the weird graphics or something, I don't know,
but graphics, lighting, something about it.
Yeah. I live in Oregon, so the Portland Timbers. I pre-COVID, I went to matches all the time, and from when they first didn't have a LED technology in there to what they did in 2019 when they enhanced their stadium and they added all these nice elaborate displays, and they got the Tillamook cheese block on one wall, and they've got something on the elevator, and they've got all these ribbon displays. I mean, they just did a whole arena enhance, and when they score a goal, man, it feels like just so much more different. I mean, there was a feel before, right? But then you add this digital enhancement and how it engages fans. It just enhances that feature, and it makes the feeling was just a bit different, right? And so, yeah, just having that type of that feel. I mean, Full Sail University, they really did it well, right?
Do you have 2 more colleges you think that could, are close or are getting there?
Yeah, I've got to top my hat off to Doc over at Boise State. What he does is just, amazing, right? A man with a music background making the most amazing video features in all of collegiate sports, right? And I like that, the well-roundedness that he has, and the reason why I say that is shoutcasting and the storytelling piece makes it the true experience, right? And then what he has in-house, right now, it looks great. There are probably some enhancements that could be done eventually somewhere down the road that would take that experience to a new level. But definitely what he does is it has well-rounded, and it has obviously done the job. I mean, look, he's winning awards in collegiate right now the way it is, and so obviously that's truth be told that definitely he's got a great elaborate space, and hats off to him and what he's done, and the kind of the I don't know, the leader, the man that's kind of paving the way as far as my thoughts on what esports should look like and what collegiate esports should look like and what it will be in the future.
Do you have a 3rd place university you could put on that list?
Man, I knew that the 3rd one would kind of be like the tough one. I have to go with my people down in Eastern Tennessee. They put in a nice video board there. It looks absolutely spectacular. Sounds like they're procuring some talent and making some headway there. I don't. Did you guys get yours done? Because your guys would kind of be in a close third too.
The next time we have this chat, I'm gonna be on this list. I swear it.
Okay, so if it was done, I would, and you had hosted one event, then I probably would have said, you guys had obviously COVID has probably changed a lot of your original designs and how you guys anticipated, wanting this space, being, kind of the program that you guys have. So I would say, yeah, definitely you guys would, when that thing is finished, I think that is going to be a really nice play for you guys, being able to showcase a community, bring a community in, and being able to get back to the grassroots of, why esports is, and it's getting back to that LAN center, or that home environment of playing in person, right?
Well, I just want to give you one last chance to give a shout out to anyone. Is there any socials anyone can follow you on that they can keep updated with you and what you're up to?
Yeah. So you could follow myself on LinkedIn. I'm very social on there. You can check me out on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Miles Dean, on LinkedIn. Director of Business Development for Fair Play. Fair Play are LinkedIn, Facebook, any type of social media platform, you'll find us there. Like I said, we've been traditionally known to be that scoreboard and scoreboard manufacturer, but we've definitely made some strides with a lot of customers in different spaces within esports to kind of provide that unique element, right? And so knowing that and having knowledge of that and what's important, we definitely try to find ways to bring in sports and esports together. And we've got a lot of exciting things coming up right now, especially in the collegiate space. I can't really say much right now, but there are some public announcements. Because we are a publicly traded company on the stock exchange, there are some things that I can't disclose right now, but there are some heavy movements in place and many strategic positioning things coming up here in 2021 and in the future, especially into collegiate esports, that will be really entertaining for us, and we look forward to these announcements and the things that are going to be coming up. So yeah, definitely give us a check, give us a follow. Like I said, check me up on LinkedIn, and we'll definitely be keeping you up to date with all these exciting announcements as they start to come out here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, thank you, Miles. You'll be able to find links to all of that, as well as the Esports Trade Association, in the description of this video. Thanks once again to our sponsors. This has been Esports Playmakers episode 4, and we'll see you guys next time.